Consider this. If your entire skeleton was coated in metal, how good a swimmer do you think you'd be?
Never stop fighting
You
for what
sink
you
like a
believe
rock,
in.
and Wolverine knows this. The average human skeleton comprises about 15% of his or her body weight. Comparatively, Wolverine's skeleton comprises about 45% of his.
Triple kill.
In his own words, it's like swimming with an anvil on your back. And that's a serious problem, because in comic book canon, Wolverine and others have admitted and demonstrated that drowning can definitely kill him. And that makes a lot of sense if you know how drowning works. When a human being, a mutant superhero, or anything with lungs spends enough time underwater, their alveoli runs out of air. So there's no oxygen to pass through to the surrounding capillaries and be delivered to the body by red blood cells. This shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone, but oxygen is extremely important to just about everything.
Felt good when I woke up in the morning.
Your cells need that oxygen delivered to them to break down the glucose you get from the food. And that ultimately results in the release of energy that's carried to whatever cell function is needed by ATP. Or in other words, the reason your cells, the things that make up you, do anything is because of a chemical reaction that requires oxygen. And the same goes for Wolverine. Enough time without oxygen, and all his cells will begin to die. He'll eventually lose consciousness and breathe in water, which will fill his lungs and make it difficult for air to get in even if he's resting. In a matter of minutes, his brain will shut down, and increased stress on the heart will cause cardiac arrest. With his brain dead, his heart stopped, his cells starved, and water in his lungs, he can't heal. That wouldn't be a healing factor. It would be magic. Unfortunately for Wolverine, testimonies from people who have nearly drowned seem to indicate it's one of the least enjoyable ways to die ever. Stories recount last-minute feelings of intense panic, hopelessness, fear. But for Wolverine, there's naturally another way to die that's arguably worse. Old age. Yes, at first glance it might sound silly to think someone over 130 years old could just be old, but as you'll notice in a lot of future storylines, Wolverine isn't immortal. He just ages a lot slower than everybody else. From birth to about the age of 18, newly formed cells in the average person's body consistently output dying. New cells in the but at about the age of 25, our bodies begin to change. Everybody starts dying. Sorry to suddenly give you old news if you're over 25, but your old cells have started dying faster than new ones are born. Your metabolism, your cognitive skills too. Muscles begin to shrink at the age of 30, eyes start adjusting slower at 40, and Wolverine's healing factor is compensating for all of this. The reason Wolverine looks so young is because his body is constantly healing the most common injury of all. And the comics have made it very clear that healing factor can't keep up with that forever. Ever since Wolverine passed that ripe age of 25, his body has been shutting down, just like everyone else's. And as he continues to grow older, he'll have a harder time healing from more traditional wounds because his healing factor will be too busy compensating for the fact that his body is only naturally producing like 10% of the cells he needs to stay alive. It's a power that's destined to weaken. For the sake of this video, I actually did do the math comparing Wolverine's biological age to his chronological age, and using this story, Wolverine the End, wherein he's listed as 210 years old, I was able to deduce he's probably aging roughly 1 biological year for every 7.5 chronological years. Meaning, if he had the lifespan of an average healthy Canadian, Wolverine would live to be about 584.3 years old before his age overwhelmed his healing factor completely, and he passed away from natural causes. And that is truly the most inevitable and painful way for Wolverine to die.
Have a taste of it.
Sure, he might not drown, and his brain is pretty safe from almost anything else besides that stuff. But Logan has been an outcast most of his life, and he's already displayed the process solid century of things. He's with the X-Men, or at least Charles Xavier, Jean Grey, Laura Dern. He has a family. But they're really a worse than now killing everyone. At the beginning of this video, I suggested that survival might be kind of tied to luck. But maybe we're lucky not to survive. Maybe life is important because it's short. No matter how well primed your genetics might be for what you encounter, you and I will never see the year 2407. In fact, we'll miss that entire century. And the century before that, and the century before that. We don't have an adamantium shell to protect us from danger, or a healing factor that will let us recover from anything life throws at us. And
Justice ain't this
it's about trying to cram as many precious memories and hopeful moments as you can into whatever short amount of time you've been allotted. The answer to this video's question is yes. Brain can die. We can all die. But maybe that's exactly why we live.
The world is worth fighting for. 起来吧.
Oh, and by the way, before anyone says anything, yes, I know about the comic in which Wolverine regenerates from a single drop of blood. But that only happened because the drop landed on the Crystal of Ultimate Vision, an artifact with nigh infinite power. Regenerating from a single cell is more up Deadpool's alley, really. I actually made a video about that quite some time ago if you're interested in seeing it. And if you're going to stick around my channel anyway, why not click on that subscribe button and ring the bell to become part of the notification squad. Not a lot of people realize this, but I actually try to respond to as many comments as I can within the first few minutes of the video being posted. So who knows, if you got here early, maybe we can have a chat in the comment section for a little bit. Just thought I'd offer. But honestly, the fact you watched the video all the way through is important. Thank you. You can also catch me on my Facebook and Twitter pages. Every single person to click the like and or follow button is rewarded with a satisfying clicking sound. As for everything else, we're getting pretty close to 200,000 subscribers. If you guys think I should do something special for the occasion, please let me know. I'll see what I can work out. But right now, I've got a lot of DC reading to do for our next episode. Stay tuned.
Tell me how this feels.
Hello, I'm Tyler, this is the Imaginary Axis, and if you're watching this right now, then congratulations. You're a minority. Not because I have some kind of divine knowledge about your race or heritage, but because there is a 100% chance that you are alive. Which is extremely rare. In fact, if we were to pick 100 human beings at random from anywhere in the world, 93 of them would be dead. But don't worry, that's okay. Death is just as natural as life. It's a cycle, like the passing of the seasons. First you sprout out of the ground, grow big and healthy, produce some seeds to continue your legacy, and then you're harvested for the winter. Life continues on. In fact, maybe that's the very reason we depict death with the farming cycle, for harvesting. But some things don't follow the natural order. The tree that never loses its leaves, the jellyfish that controls its own age, and, well...
Hey there, you can call me Deadpool.
yeah.
Triple kill.
Ow.
Deadpool is a Marvel anti-hero primarily known for his ability to heal from almost anything, and widely believed to have one of the best healing factors in all of fiction. Yes, even better than Wolverine's. He's had his head stabbed, sliced off, blown off, his body pummeled, torn to shreds, liquidized, entire vital organs ripped out of him. He's regenerated from almost nothing time and time again, and so naturally the question arises, can Deadpool die at all?
Well... crap.
Well, in order to understand if we can kill Deadpool, we first need to understand how his healing factor works. Real name Wade Wilson, Deadpool's regenerative powers were implanted into his genes as part of a super soldier program called Weapons X. The poor mercenary was suffering from terminal cancer at the time, and this special treatment was supposed to cure his condition and make him better than ever, but it didn't quite go as planned. You see, right now, your body is made up of about 37.2 trillion cells. So many that even though they're too small to see, if we line them up one by one in a row, we could circle the Earth 19 times. In a healthy person, those cells perform basic functions to keep you. Making up your tissue, protecting your body, burning nutrients, sending messages, transporting important resources to the places that need them, and of course producing new cells to take over when they die. Each cell follows a set of instructions called DNA, and when the cell divides, it copies that DNA. All of it. Over 3 billion nucleobases. An extremely long and complex message about exactly what the cell should do, how it should do it, and when. Which is hard. And sometimes mistakes are made. Mutations. Don't worry, not all of them are bad. In fact, most mistakes don't affect anything at all. But if it does affect something important, like making the cell divide uncontrollably, refusing to stop, spreading to parts of the body it doesn't belong, we call that cancer. And in Deadpool's case, his healing factor was added to his mutated DNA to counteract this process. His cells were told to recognize when other cells were damaged and quickly reproduce them. So in a way, his healing factor is cancerous. What would normally only divide into harmful tumors now recreates entire body parts if the need arises, both preventing the cancer from killing him and allowing him to return from the edge of death over and over and over. In a lot of ways, it might look impossible to put Deadpool down for good. But in the Marvel Universe, there's actually a special substance used to kill people with healing factors. Carbonadium. Carbonadium is a metal that was developed during the Cold War by the USSR in an attempt to recreate adamantium. And while it's not near as durable as its American counterpart, it is extremely radioactive. Its atoms are so unstable that their nuclei emit radiation in an attempt to balance them out. And characters like Deadpool and Wolverine have trouble healing while around that. Why? Well, certain radiation is actually capable of damaging DNA. Ultraviolet rays, X-rays, gamma rays, and more can cause cancer, which, as we just discussed, is really damaged DNA on a rampage. But on top of that, one method for killing cancer is called radiotherapy. By damaging the DNA inside of cancer cells, we can stop them from dividing, which is probably the same thing happening to Deadpool and Wolverine when they're around carbonadium. If that's the case, we don't even need a fictional metal from another universe to kill Deadpool. We should be able to use cytotoxins, or cell toxins. There are over 100 chemicals out there that are deadly to cells, and more are being developed all the time to, you guessed it, fight cancer. And they should be just as capable of killing a healing factor as carbonadium. It's all in the cells. The DNA that tells Deadpool's body to repair damage. Those cancerous healing genes that will recreate every ounce of tissue as long as the code is still there. In order to kill Deadpool for good, you would have to destroy every single cell in his body. Throw him into the sun, drop a planet on him, disintegrate him completely. Universal acid, flesh-eating nanotech. If you have microscopic and precise heat vision, focus on each individual cell and just disassemble him. Erase him from existence, cure his healing factor, and then shoot him. Maybe get the artist to just stop drawing him. The point is, yes, Deadpool can die. It's just really, really hard. He even used to have an immortality curse that forced him to survive even crazier things. But at the end of the day, Deadpool is made of cells. Just like you, me, and every other plant and animal on the planet. An uncanny family resemblance that ensures, yeah, we can die, but we're all in the same boat. It's one of the few things you're guaranteed to have in common with every single person you meet. So, don't worry too much about Deadpool's mortality, or your own for that matter. Sometimes it's just nice to be reminded that you're as human as everyone else. Until next time.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Double kill.
Hello, I'm Tyler. This is the Imaginary Axis, and you know, one of the most common questions I get from you imaginary friends is who is the strongest superhero? I haven't figured it out yet. But that's only because the genre is so obsessed with strength that over the years we've developed some really overpowered characters. And as they grow stronger, their limits just become harder and harder to define. Take Goku, for instance. A character who, over years of writing, became so strong that Akira Toriyama had to introduce literal gods to the series just to give him a good fight. Or the Incredible Hulk, who famously set the strength bar so high for Marvel that Stanley wrote in Thor and the Asgardian Pantheon as the only logical way of taking things up in this way. When it comes to superheroes, the introduction of overpowered characters is often a sign of literary maturity. The protagonist has overcome so much that his or her feats now have to be titanic. Their enemies have to challenge the audience's imagination, because we want the stories to continue, but we don't want our heroes to be stagnant. And it would be boring if they just beat every opponent in one punch.
Triple kill.
Right?
Double kill. Double kill.